All right, this is part two. I'll talk for a good 7 minutes here, guys, and I'll end the video here. Obviously, 'cause I gotta take my shower and I gotta get my smokes at the store. Right, before the store closes, obviously. Yeah, Peter Jackson will work really hard because he knows he's gonna strike it rich. He knows he's gonna make his like 250 to $300 million in royalties, and so work hard more than what he made for Lord of the Rings. He'll work hard. He'll work really hard. So I'm saying he'll work really, really hard, obviously. That's why I believe Zans will be better than Lord of the Rings. Because I paid the crewmen more money than what they made for Lord of the Rings. They're going to work double harder for me, obviously. Weta Digital will work harder for me. I pay the guys more money. Weta Workshop will work more harder for me. I pay the guys more money. And so they're going to work harder for me, obviously. Pay the supervisors a rich $250,000, $270,000 for Weta Workshop. And you pay all the assistants a rich $150,000. They're going to work really hard. You're going to get a better movie. I'm not going to have Lars appearing out of nowhere for my movie, no. I'm not going to have cheesy editing whereby you have a bunch of men, you see 10 men left. No. The Weta Digital will work their ass off for me. They're going to work double harder for me than what they even did for the Rings. Because I paid them more money, obviously. Right? Peter Jackson will work harder for me than what he even did for the Rings. Peter Jackson will be like, fuck Hollywood, man. Fuck Warner Bros. You might tell me that, don't say that. You're like, yeah, Lord of the Rings was my baby, but man, like, fucking Hollywood was a fucking dirty ass slave. Like, Warner Bros. Fucking cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like you had me stay in fucking suites. Yeah, I had Peter Jackson stay in suites in Vancouver. $4,000, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 night suites in Vancouver. You know what I'm saying? For 1 year. I spoiled him with a limo service, buffet, parties in my condo, my yacht, obviously. The perks of my office, working on a script, or document filming me. Yeah, it'll work harder for me. Pay him $10 million for pre-production. He'll work harder for me than what he even did for Lord of the Rings. Because he only made $10 million for the whole movie, for production and pre-production, and he got a piece of the profits for the 3 movies, and he struck it rich, Peter. He'll work harder for me, obviously. And don't forget, I gave him his freedom. Whereas in Hollywood, because Peter Jackson made $190 million, he obviously paid a horrific price to make that money. He must have smashed don't hate me, Hollywood. He must have smashed a lot of people, man. I mean, how much people? I don't know. To make $180 million, you pay a horrific price. He probably smashed a good maybe 60 people, man, while he was filming something crazy, man. He had to bang like 60 people, 60, 70 people to make that $80 million. Horrific price to pay, yeah, man. He was a dirty slave, yeah. Whereas for Ivan's company, Peter Jackson doesn't have to do anything. He's free. Yeah, Peter, I'm not dirty. Like I'll pay you your $3 million. It's just all I ask is you work hard. Don't worry about it. I'll work hard for you. He'll work harder for me because I gave him his freedom. He's free. Obviously. That's why when I offered Peter Jackson that contract, and he now knows Ivan's paying me this money in free cash, he might maybe perhaps tear up a little bit, because he might perhaps tear up, or he might be shocked. Holy shit, Ivan's paying me all this money in free cash. In Hollywood, they would never do this. Hollywood, I have to do it. Yeah, in Hollywood, you got to do it, man. Whereas in my company, I gave him his freedom. Peter Jackson will work harder for me. If you give the actors and Peter Jackson their freedom, they're going to work harder for you. Because there's nothing better. Making a lot of money, being free, is the best feeling in the world. To have the best of both worlds, and being rich and being free is the best of both worlds, obviously. That's a big reason why Peter Jackson and Horror are going to beg too. Because they know Ivan's company is the only company that can compete with Hollywood with payment, with salaries, obviously, and he's the only businessman who's clean. Whereas all these businesses around the world who pay people their millions are all dirty people. They're dirty people, obviously. Yeah, man. Yeah. And I poured $9 million towards my Zanus movie for world-building, action sequences, and the horror of the demon wolves and bats. Imagine that. And Zanus is a better story than Lord of the Rings. I'm acting as Prince Tacticus. Hence why Zanus will be better than Lord of the Rings, guaranteed. By a slim margin. A slim margin. I'm not going to say it will beat out Lord of the Rings by a lot. No. Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece. It's very tough to top that franchise. But it'll beat it up by a slim margin. A slim margin will beat it out. It'll beat it up by a slim margin. A tiny, slim margin. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Peter Jackson already knows. You guys already know how good my movie is. You can see the future. You guys can see the future. You know how good. Yeah, we know how Airtel looks like. We know how you look like. Yeah, you know how good my Zanus will be. You're looking at a movie better than Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings by a slim margin. The end off here, even though Zane's will be better than Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, obviously by some margin, there's some fans out there who obviously like Lord of the Rings better. I highly doubt it, but there's some fans who might like Lord of the Rings better, obviously the movie, and there's some Lord of the Rings nerds who might like J.R.R. Tolkien's trilogy for his books better than my Last of Us trilogy. I highly doubt it because Lord of the Rings is a drag to read in some sections, whereas Zanus is more interesting. It's a more interesting read. The story is more richer. The world building of Lord of the Rings is richer. I'm gonna give you a heads up, guys. Don't be surprised if you read my book. My world building does not stand out as J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm giving you a heads up. My world building is not as good as J.R.R. Tolkien's, and my dialogue and speech is not as good as J.R.R. Tolkien's. But the story flows better than my book, and it's a better story than J.R.R. Tolkien's. As J.R.R. Tolkien's story is just about Frodo destroying the One Ring, and Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas and all of them, and Éomer and all of them, they fight the armies of Mordor and Sauron. That's pretty much the story. And Aragorn becoming king. That's pretty much the story of what? Of what? Of fucking Lord of the Rings. Deep story, obviously. Destroying the One Ring to rule them all, obviously. Sauron's ring, obviously, to defeat Sauron. It's not as powerful as Zanus, where you have Takis and agony for the devil himself. It's not as powerful as Zanus. Hence why Zanus will beat out, was a better story than J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and it'll be a better movie than Peter Jackson movies by a slim margin. And it'll definitely be better than The Hobbit, as The Hobbit was alright. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. To end it off here, once all your Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings read my what? My Last of Us book, you guys are going to become crazier Zane's fans than you even are Lord of the Rings fans. You'll be like, holy shit, I even wrote this? I love all these characters. I love Lithia, Tacius, Papari, Cassitonius, Cassius, Meramis, Joe. I love all these characters so much. Yeah, Eretz had to tell himself in the South. Yeah. You guys are going to become crazier Last of Us fans than what you even are for Lord of the Rings. Yeah, man. That's how good my book is. Finally dawned you, yeah, Ivan's book is better than J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. He has a better story, and I was far more hooked reading his book than I was reading Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a drag to read, yeah. Lord of the Rings is such a drag to read. When you read the book, I guarantee when you read the book, some of you guys, you guys turn the page and you see how much pages are left in the chapter because it's a drag to read sometimes. Yeah. And I guarantee when you guys read the book, you skip all the annoying poems and you skip all the prologue. Because it's a little dry and boring in J.R.R. Tolkien's book. Yeah. That's why Zanus is a better book than Lord of the Rings, obviously. Hey, it was it for this video. I'm going to upload this video, take my shower, go to the store, get my pack of sponsors. I'm Ivan Amir, I'm signing out. Peace.